everybody, it's Greg from Nexus Property Management. We're here at Nexus's headquarters in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And today we're going to talk about things and items you should be paying attention to when you're reviewing a purchase and sale contract. Okay, so anytime we're buying real estate, we're getting some form of purchase and sale, which is also known as a P&S, and that's what you need to set the boundaries and set the expectations. So that's the first thing to consider here is if you're buying a property and there's no contract, I don't know what to say. That's extremely shady and you're probably getting a raw deal. So you want to have it in writing for those who don't, okay? So what I'm going to do now is go through a P&S, okay, not word for word, but just, section by section, and we're going to go over the most important things that you should be focusing on when you're looking at yours, okay? So the first thing is the agreement is made between the seller and the buyer. So you want to make sure that the seller's name or entity is spelled correctly, and so is yours. And also consider if you're purchasing this as an LLC or some type of entity otherwise, you want to make sure that that is notated, okay? Not your personal name, you're putting your business name or what have you. So next thing is the date of the agreement, really not a huge deal. Whenever the agreement is made is when it should be. The premises, which is the property or properties that you're buying, you want to make sure those are spelled out correctly. And also the map, block, any parcel numbers, you want to make sure those are correct too. But the closing attorney should be reviewing that, the title insurance, so it's not a huge deal, but just something to consider. Now, deed and title. When you get that deed, you want to ensure, if at all possible, you're getting a warranty deed. That's the safest. That's the best. That's top of the line as far as deeds go. If you're getting a quitclaim deed, okay, you're still getting the property, but it's a little more risky because a quitclaim is something that you would do maybe with your family member, with your spouse, somebody that you really trust or trusts you back. And when you're buying a regular multifamily property like across the street here or wherever you are in Anywheresville, USA, you probably don't know the seller. So a warranty deed is the safest. Your title, you're going to have the option in some cases to get title insurance or to say the hell with it, I'll save the $500-600 bucks, I don't want it. Now, depending on your lender may want that, okay, it may be a requirement, not optional, but sometimes it's been optional. But I suggest, buy that. Get that $500-600 policy, it covers you for the life, it's beautiful, if there's ever a dispute, that will cover that dispute. So if somebody tries to step up and say, hey, I own that property, that's what that insurance is going to cover. And I've seen that happen a few times, and it saved people's butts. Taxes. That's something you want the seller to pay for by the time of the closing. That's pretty standard. We're also going to look at the purchase price. Very important, right? Who would have thought? You want to make sure that that is correct. Okay, and if there's seller credits, I'll get to that towards the end of the video. The closing date. Usually it's 45 to 60 days out from the date that this contract is made. However, there can be an extension. If the lender takes too long, if the seller needs time, if you need time as the buyer, or what have you. So don't look at this date and think, oh my gosh, I got to close by this date at 10 a.m. at the Registry of Deeds. Trust me, nobody's going to be at the Registry of Deeds at 10 a.m. if you need more time, okay? You can always do an extension. It happens all the time, sometimes a week, 2 weeks, very common, okay? So don't worry about that date. Seller's inability to convey. If seller, despite its best efforts for reasons beyond its control, for any reason be unable to give title and make conveyance, all payments made by a buyer on account of the purchase price shall be refunded. That's extremely rare. I really wouldn't be too concerned with that. Buyer's rights, that's a little bit more important here. Your inspections, okay, you can have your mechanical inspection, you can have a lead inspection, you can have a general home inspection. There's a lot of covenants that you have, okay, and rights that you have as a buyer. So make sure you put them here. There's options to say, I'm waiving it, or, I want it, and I have 10 days to do so. So you want to make sure that if you're waiving that inspection, you're very comfortable, you're very well versed with property maintenance and repair, because you don't want to waive it to save the $1,000 and then end up with a disaster. Personally, I don't like home inspections. I think they're a waste of money. I think it's a waste of time, and it also makes your deal that much less appealing. I always waive inspections when I buy properties. It's a rental property, you've seen one, you've seen them all. Now if you're buying a mill building like I'm in now, yeah, you want an inspection. There's going to be environmental hazards. There's going to be things with lead paint, okay? There's going to be so many obstacles, oil tanks, buried fuel tanks, you name it, we've dealt with it here. But when you're buying a regular property, save your money. Any adjustments, rent, fuel, water charges, sewer, shall be adjusted at the day of the closing. That's pretty standard. That just means whatever charges or fees have incurred on the property up until the closing date, the seller pays for. And if they're prepaid into the future, they're going to debit you. You're paying for those because you're going to own the property when you get the use. So say you close on September 15th and the seller has paid for the water bill up until January 1st, you're getting 2.5, almost 3 months of water, okay, sewer, whatever it may be. So you're going to be paying back, if that makes sense, on your settlement what the seller has already paid. Fire safety, very important. No way around fire safety. The seller is typically responsible to get that property up to speed, up to code, working, all the lights on, no chirping in the hallways. That's the seller's responsibility, and that is a field that must be checked. Seller, not buyer, unless, of course, part of your deal is you're doing it, but I don't know why you would. Radon, pretty rare. I think I've seen that one time, close to the ocean, as a matter of fact. It was a wedding venue right on kind of a rocky cliff area in Narragansett, and the radon was coming up through those rocks. So they had to put in a pipe, okay, from sea level all the way through the top of the building, but very rare. The last thing here is just make sure that names are spelled correctly, and your agent's information is listed. Any seller credits need to be listed here at the end. Okay, there's a final section, if you will, called additions, exceptions. If you're keeping the coin-op laundry, like I said, if there's a seller credit, if a tenant has prepaid rent, if there's some type of deal where you're keeping a rent for a tenant for X amount of time, any other caveats or covenants you want to include in that final catch-all box, okay? This, totally breezing through a very important document. So if you have any other questions, you must ask. Number one, either your lender, or number two, your attorney, your closing attorney. If you don't have one, get one. You need to have a relationship with an attorney if you're going to invest in property. Okay, it's just inevitable, it's undeniable, and it's important. You need to have somebody who's not affiliated with you, who's not a family member, who's not a friend, who's not a coworker. You need somebody that gives it to you raw, gives it to you straight, and an attorney will do that. And I have 2 attorneys, because sometimes I don't like what one says, I call the other one. And sometimes they both say things I don't like, and I do it. Totally kidding here. You gotta follow your attorney's advice, and you need to have an attorney, and they'll help you review this, and they'll get through. There's a lot of legalese, a lot of stuff that is hard to understand. What does this witnesses, whereof the parties here too? Who talks like that? Attorneys. So get one. Once again, this is Gregory from Nexus Property Management, your property managed.